So the LB10 form, that column to the right of the dark purple one will be the revised SAGE budget. It just adjusts different overages and underages in the various lines. But the sum balance is only a $2,400 change. There's a little bit more in carryover.
Perry, would it be possible to get a link to that for those who are online?
Yeah. Let me on that computer.
That's a pretty small for a budget thingy. What do you call it? Supplemental.
Well, that's just the SAGE fund.
Here, let me go ahead and share.
So the link that I'm sharing in chat will take you to the whole budget. You'll have to scroll down to the SAGE pages.
Thanks, Perry.
Let me know if you have any questions or comments about it. Otherwise, probably you should take formal action on approving the change as the user council.
What do we have to do for that?
Have somebody open.
Can you repeat what the change was now that all of us can see it?
So the changes, you'll see the dollar change versus the original that's color-coded. Green for an increase in the amount, red for a decrease in that amount. So starting at the top, there's more cash carryover than we projected, $12,000 more than the 190 we approved.
Oh.
We changed the pricing tier structure so that we did not collect as much membership dues as we had originally budgeted for, so we're decreasing that by $9,000. That balances out to total resource change of $2,400. And then there's just some slight changes in the benefits for personnel, mostly because of the unemployment insurance rate went up quite a bit. That's not a huge dollar amount, only $234. And then in the materials and services on page 2, I think the technology line is increased mostly because of some Equinox work. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, we had to buy extra hours.
Buy extra hours there. We're changing the Baker administrative fee downward because I noticed that the formula where we take a percentage, a 2% of the total SAGE fund, and then we subtract the time for Christine, our business manager's hours, and I hadn't included the benefits cost of that as well, so I added that to the amount we take out of the 2%. That leaves the remainder, which is around $2,000. So that charge, or basically discount for Baker, is decreased from $3,400 to $2,000.
Okay.
Supplies increased a little bit. Travel increased $1,500. Training decreased.
The total's still the same, 2,429?
I think he's on this
Yeah.
page now.
Yeah.
One of these pages.
Well,
somewhere.
yeah,
We messed up
total
somehow.
change, 2,429. So there's a little bit more carryover at the end.
So I move we accept the LB10 changes as presented. Is that okay?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Changes passed.
Thank you, thank you.
So now we're into the informal discussion portion of the evening. Goals and priorities for SAGE in the upcoming.
I figured this discussion could take any direction folks wanted it to. I just was putting down there something to get us started.
I have a question.
All right, Mark?
Okay, we have some self-checkout units that we've had for a number of years. Has anybody set up a self-checkout station recently that has newer equipment? I'd love to talk with somebody about how they're doing that because the ones we have now are down most of the time and I'm tired of seeing them down. I'd like to move on to something that's going to work.
These are self-checkout stations that are just computers that have been locked down, right?
Yes, but the challenge of what I'm told the challenge is that because of computer or printers and scanners, getting a unit that's going to work well with that, you still want a computer, but you know, I'm wondering, I guess, if the new updates give us anything better on that, or the ability to not have to actually use a Windows, or some kind of a lockdown Windows environment that's going to be easier.
What are the challenges that make you have to close down those stations?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know. I just see them down all the time. Where I think they get going with them and then they have a fault, and when the fault happens, nobody knows how to resolve it, and so they just turn them off. And so, you know, but I'm also looking at them, their equipment that is 10 years plus old, and we need to move into the, you know, current decade and have something that's actually working. Is anybody else using self-checkout in their libraries at all?
We do in LeGrand.
Pendleton does.
Okay, and
We have a newer model, but we bought a refurbished computer we got for around $100 on a website called Evertech. It runs Windows 10. It's got pretty good hard drive and RAM, and it doesn't typically have problems. The only thing that happens is occasionally the printer stops printing. If you turn it off and back on, it shoots out everything that backlogged since it stopped printing. But
seems to solve the problem for you then, huh?
that's the only issue we've had with it, really.
Well, I may contact you more directly on that, Perry, right?
Oh, this is Ryan in LeGrand. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. We've solved a lot of the issues with Evergreen, just getting newer computers with heavy RAM capacity. So it seems to
Okay.
for us.
10-year-old computer probably is low on RAM.
I think most of our computers have at least 6. So.
Okay. Are you using the new clients on those at all, or are you using?
We're just using the self-check login that Brent sent out, the website, self-check website that Brent sent out 5 years ago now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's web-based.
Yeah. So
And there's nothing really been updated on that then.
we never received any new links to use, so we've just been using the same one.
Okay.
We can look into it. As far as I know, it hasn't, the link hasn't changed. I think it's the same access. There may be more settings, but I'll take a look and see what improvements have been made.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Got really quiet. So, is there anything that you can think of that you really want Sage to do, software-wise, or something that you think really needs to be improved?
I'd like online payment. I would say that.
I would like online
That'd be
payments.
nice.
I would too.
And I would really like it to be compatible with Square
Yes.
instead of just PayPal and Stripe.
Yeah.
We want to get a point of sale drawer system, kind of cash register, and I don't think Stripe or PayPal have those more involved systems.
I think there's several of us that use Square within the system.
Oh,
We do, Milton Free Water does, a couple other places.
So we need capability with Square. Right now, you can use Stripe and you can use PayPal.
but we've never been able to get any member actually using it, right?
No, we got some pricing a little while back. We had talked about doing something consortia-wide, but it's problematic, just because it would involve extra work to split up all of the money and shift it to the direction it needs to go if Sage collected it all. We were trying to figure out a way to reduce individual costs, and we can enter the discussion again, but my understanding was we thought it would be better for individual libraries to get their own accounts. Is that what I'm
Well,
remembering
and
correctly?
we do have a PayPal account and we have a special module, but we've never been able to make it operational.
Oh, you haven't?
Right.
Because there's PayPal and PayPal Pro.
And I think we got the Pro.
You got the Pro. Well, maybe we need to go back to testing,
We
Gary.
do, yeah.
Okay.
Probably do that before we lose our IT intern whiz kid
Yeah.
off to college.
Okay.
So I have a question. I don't know. It may be possible. When you're on there, you can actually add copies to their account and then have them pay for it and print a receipt. I have people that want receipts when they copy. And so when they want one, I've added it there and then had them pay and give them the receipt, but it doesn't say like copies on it, on the actual receipt. Is
When
there
you
a
add
way-
a billing,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be nice to have copies as a,
because then I don't have to handwrite
Copies
it.
as a category
There
in
is
your billing?
there is a category on there,
oh,
but
there is.
when they print the receipt, it doesn't say copies.
Can you type it into the message box? It doesn't either.
No, because what I'll type in is like 10 copies at 10 cents equal $1, and then add the dollar, and it doesn't show that information, and that's kind of what they need on their receipt.
Oh, mine, I printed one the other day and
Maybe I haven't done it in a while. I'll try it again.
It's the receipt template.
It might be the receipt template
It
is
might be,
different
see, that's
between
not
your
my-
two libraries.
I called Leah and have her help me with that.
Okay.
So,
Does anybody that has that,
oh, there you go, Leah.
is there anybody that has that template set up with that? Because we've never, when we started with the receipt templates, Heidi suggested that we avoid any of the billing stuff because
Oh,
they didn't, well, so we've never dealt with any of that. So I honestly don't even know where to start with that one.
Mary, you have it at
I
yours?
have it. I don't know how it got set up, but I have it. Beth may have set it up for me. I don't know.
we could compare the two. If you export your templates, each of you, we could take a look at what's different in the billing templates and see.
Thanks for fixing the fine issue.
Oh, you're welcome. No,
Did you guys experience that?
everybody did.
Yeah, it was.
It's where fines weren't accruing on people's accounts until the item was checked in.
Oh, yes.
So we collect fines and then we come back.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
That
You
was
said
great.
I was all caught up.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing.
So let me just review what conversation that I had with John about the cybersecurity that Kathy and I were concerned about. There was a recent incident in Kentucky, a library outside Louisville that had to close 3 days to scrub and restore their systems after they were attacked by cyber extortionists that encrypted all of their data and then were charging a fee to unencrypt it. So they took 3 days to restore, and they luckily had backups so they could restore from instead of having to pay thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to get
With
that
no guarantee that
back.
you'd get it back.
Yeah, right. So John looked into it, and he said that he verified that all of the Sage servers are behind a hardware firewall with limited open ports, and not all servers are visible externally. And the production database server replicates to the spare database server and to the test server nightly, which, since it's a VM virtual machine, I guess, gets backed up nightly by EOU, and that backup is replicated to an offsite location. So there's more technicalities, but he did look into all the procedures and is confident that we could do the same restoration from backup if we had a cybersecurity attack of that kind.
That is correct. I haven't finished formalizing it into a procedure that I can submit to everybody.
Yeah, he's gonna write it up, just so we have it in our records, of what the procedure is and what we have available to us.
Is there a way for us to check a box that would track the history of the patrons? I've had it a few times where I've told them they have to go into their own account, go find it in all the miscellaneous tabs and check the little box. Is there a way that we could have it where we could do it for them?
Where we can at least activate it for them, even though we won't see it.
I think
That
that's
would be
slippery
nice.
slope.
Well, as long as we're not seeing it, and they're the ones.
Or can we just change it so it's on by default?
Or, yeah, so it's
Oh, there you
like, no.
No, we can't because of patron privacy.
Yeah.
They have to enable it themselves to basically say, I'm okay with keeping history.
I mean, that goes back to Homeland Security and all that.
Yeah.
You can do it for them if they give you their card number and their password.
Right.
And just do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tricky to find it, explain it over the phone. You go to the third tab to the right, and then,
Yeah.
you know, it's
That could be a tutorial.
not
Good.
handy.
Be a niche.
Yeah.
Maybe it already is.
Yeah, and we do actually have patrons' instructions on that particular feature under help on the OPAC, but I mean, they have to scroll down under, using my account, so they have to navigate some stuff to actually find it, but it is on there on how to do it. We could look at separating it out if it was something we feel like we need to feature.
By the way, we did a really simple
I'm sorry.
line by line how to get set up with Library to Go. If anyone's interested in getting a copy, we just sat down and pretended like it was our first time doing it. Every single step. And it's really helped our patrons a lot. We've gotten more people signed up. that didn't even know or didn't even want to attempt to do it before
Okay, good.
because of, you know.
Is this on your website?
I have it on our Facebook page, and then we have something about the desk. But we've had so many more people go, oh, yeah, how do you call up for it now? And update their accounts just so they can use it too. It's very basic, and it works.
Did you want to send that out over the listserv?
Sure.
Is that on the?
This is the Niche Academy, and then you can go here.
Is that put on the?
That's what I say, we have that through Niche Academy, so,
The instructions?
yeah, for Overdrive is one of the ones we put on there, and Libby.
We have a paper copy because we have a lot of people who try it. but
We
don't
also
wanna
have a
have to
paper
do it.
copy that we printed off.
They just don't want to have to learn how to do it on the computer. too.
Yeah.
Well, I actually did it on the back of our business card, but it's really simple. It's how to log into your
This is-
card, how to log
This
into
is a
that.
full single side sheet.
Yeah.
Line by line. Click
We
this,
have-
Dumb by
click this,
dumb, yeah.
click this,
That's-
click this.
I like
We've
those.
talked about in the past, the embargoes that some libraries do on new materials and being consistent. Is that, anything happened with that since last year's meeting? Because when I look at the records, it doesn't appear that consistency is happening.
Consistency which way?
Well, at our last year's in-person meeting, we talked about everybody using the same amount of time,
Okay, 3 months?
3 months. And then that after the 3 months, it would roll off automatically.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But I don't know if that's really true anymore.
So you're thinking that folks are
I
keeping
think
it?
I think they
longer?
are. Or that they're not rolling off. Is the roll off automatically set up through Sage?
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't have that option.
Correct. What it does is it bases it on, it's not the create date.
Activation.
Thank you. It's the active date. So if it took them longer to process the materials and get it out of in process, then that window will be a little bit longer. But it will automatically look at the active date and the date that somebody is trying to place a hold, or even in the catalog display, it'll indicate when it's available automatically.
Okay.
So Beth, can I ask a question of clarification on that?
Yeah.
On the screen, it appears that, and I don't know that I have the terminology correct because I don't have it up in front of me, but it appears that the expiration of that is based off of the create date. But that doesn't seem to change when they put it, when they check it in. So I think that's maybe part of where the confusion comes, because I'm not even sure that it's based on the process date as opposed to the create date.
Yeah, it's a global setting, and we changed it to active date. Now, doesn't mean that something couldn't have reverted back when we did an upgrade, but what makes you think that it's basing it upon the create date?
Because all of this cataloging that I do, it's all in process. And so when I go back and look at the OPAC view, and it shows that date when it should go off, or the date that it's set, I don't remember what it is, it's based on that create date.
Okay, it could be that
Move your hands away from
it could be that the OPAC display is either not using I'm wondering if it's a display issue rather than a functional issue.
Right. Well, and that may be part of what's causing confusion as well, because if that's the date that shows in the catalog, then, especially staff may be looking at that and saying, well, how come it's still saying it's active as having that hold? That age-based protection hold.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take a look at the copy display and see if we can't figure out what's going on there.
I just know I was looking at some records, and I can't see it now because I'm not logged in as myself. I'm just as a patron. some of them still said 3 months, 6 months. There were several that were not 3 months, that were over 3 months.
Okay, so, how do we feel about that? Do we want to say no more 6 months?
I do 6 months on my homeschool collection just because I don't circulate it out. If there's a way that because I want it to be pullable by our patrons, my homeschool patrons, but I don't want to send it out to other libraries. So I know I do that. I'm guilty of that. Is there a way that I could change that to something else where it doesn't? I always feel bad not sending it to other libraries, but then again, it's specific to our.
Do you allow your own patrons to place holds on?
Yes.
Only the homeschool patrons.
Well, unless they get permission. Yeah.
So they have a certain part.
Public.
Yeah.
I don't know,
That's just an example.
currently, our library doesn't put any hold. We allow everything to be checked out by anybody, put on hold by anybody, because that was how Sage started, was that we would all share alike, which is fine that other libraries do it. But I see some of the smaller libraries do the really long embargo of local patrons only, and I know we send a lot of books to them, and it makes me frustrated that their reasoning is, well, we're a small town and our patrons walk in the door, they want to see my new materials on my shelf.
I say that, we do a 3-month hold.
Which is okay, but 3 months I think is what we decided at our last in-person meeting.
6 months seems like.
6 months is a
you're
long
setting up
time.
Materials too much.
Should we put it out for a vote on the Sage listserv?
Well, it's cases though.
But, and then what are we talking about? Are we talking about just fiction or movies?
Well, there's
lot of
another
times,
way.
But
Rose
she
will just
doesn't
cancel
let
it.
people, she doesn't send those out, so make them
Ever.
non-holdable. So
then it
that's
would be
keeping her
holdable for her own
patrons.
patrons.
Except that you can set up hold policies that allows her patrons to hold, but nobody else.
Okay.
So you fix it with a hold policy rather than using age protection.
Based on a shelving location and a patron type?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's what we'd need to do.
So we'll just switch those.
Okay.
So is that something in our policy development or policies of circulation that needs to put on our agenda for our meeting?
Are you talking about the 6-month age protection?
3 months.
Yeah, I don't know that our standardized loan rules, I think it lists both as a possibility.
As options.
Yeah. So is there any other reasoning for having a 6-month?
Really, if an item is so popular that you're afraid that 3 months is too short, we should be buying more copies.
Correct. 6 months is the lifetime of the popularity. No one wants to check it out then sometimes.
I think you're losing out on holds. Like,
I think they just don't want to share. They want to be part of the consortium. They have books come in, but they don't ever want to send books out, is my personal opinion.
You do a 3-month hold on ours.
And I like the 3-month hold.
I like the.
3 months is okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I say something?
send it another.
Yeah, Dia?
So I did just look at the standardized loan rules, and it says allowed for up to 90 days after accession. And I thought that's what originally, I don't know where the 6 months came in, but was agreed upon way back when was 3 months. And that's what's still in the policy.
Okay.
So we just need to reinforce it, or how do we
Well,
police that?
I removed the 6-month setting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the 6-month option got added in with an upgrade, and we never changed our policy. It started getting used.
Okay.
We just haven't taken.
I thought people could choose their own, put in their own options.
No, it's a system setting, and we did, we also have some settings that allow districts to share amongst their branches within that time frame, but it won't go out farther than their district. So there's those settings too. But if we leave that setting for a 3-month, which is called a system, a system 3-month and a branch 3-month, then we should be good to go.
Okay.
An action item.
Yay. The committee has so much stuff.
Yes. So any other things that you want to talk about, Sage-wise?
How do we get our DVDs to go to a checkout period?
To do what?
Mine are only set for a week.
I only want 1 week.
Isn't that an option?
We have
I have
to,
tried all kinds of different options.
okay.
Like long, short, normal.
You can just do
Things
this.
like that require, if it's not going to be the default, then I have to set up a circulation policy for it, for your library.
Okay.
You want it to go for 3 weeks.
Could also
I
just
like
circulate
everything.
like a book, couldn't you?
So all of your other items go out 3 weeks?
Yes.
Well, our problem is if we do DVDs, they're a week, and
Yeah.
Blu-rays are 3 week. For some reason, there's a problem with that, but I keep forgetting to email back.
That's probably because the circulation policy has DVD and not Blu-ray. Okay.
The staff says, I think DVDs should go out for 3 weeks, and staff disagrees with me.
I don't agree. Yeah, your new ones.
A week's long enough.
So things like that come up, you just have to email us and we'll look at the circulation policies, see what's going on. Chances are we probably have to add a circulation policy. Because otherwise it'll go to some default policy that's in there, rather than one that's specific to your library.
Are these things that the staff themselves, instead of telling me, they could send a support ticket to you?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna train them for that. Because they have not been doing that, no matter how much I tell them to.
Yeah, I do the support tickets all the time and it's awesome. It gets fixed.
They just are afraid of them for some reason.
That's another piece of software.
So the
No, they're afraid that they're gonna bug you, I think.
The CERT committee may want to take up the issue of auto renewal.
Oh, that's different.
It's like going.
So we can start talking about-
Some people were really against it last year when I personally brought it up at this meeting.
It's gonna compromise my
And
average fine.
we all need to be on the same page because do we want it to be for ILL items or just your own items? I think the only issue that I've heard reported from libraries that do have that is that patrons then can ignore returning it for longer, and that leads them to tend to lose the item. So there ends up being propensity for more lost. And then that takes more time to try to get them back.
We'll have to-
Hey. I hate that part
Cost
of the
of doing
job.
business.
I don't know, it could be that we compromise and say, if we're gonna automatic renewal, it's only renewed once rather than twice. Or, I mean, I guess there's some flexibility with this if we've got some concerns.
The thing I would be curious about
Well, we get
is,
policies from other places too.
the thing I'd be curious about is it said it auto notifies them that their item is being auto renewed
It does,
by email or text, I assume.
by email.
I think you had the choice,
But yeah, it depends on how you have your patron.
and you could opt out of it
notification.
also, I thought.
So if somebody doesn't have an email, then they wouldn't get a notice, and then they wouldn't know that they were.
They would not know. If they checked their account, they would see.
Okay.
I think that there probably would be an education piece that we're going to have to roll out with this.
But don't you think that if someone's auto-renewing, there's no negative to that? I mean, it's
Well, I
like,
mean,
surprise,
like
look,
he's
I don't have a
talking
late
about.
book today.
Like he's talking about, I'm not that worried if they're getting a notice that's reminding them they have it and they're getting an auto renewal. I am concerned about that if it's someone who refuses to give us an email address and then they get to keep it for 9 weeks without an overdue notice or a due date notice or a renewal notice
Or if they
or
get
anything.
used to the auto renewal and there's a hold on an item and it
Yeah.
doesn't renew and then they get yours.
Yeah.
So
That's education.
I don't know that I would
I think it,
like to do that unless it could be turned off for accounts that don't have email addresses, for example. Because they're not going to get notices and I don't want them to get
Good
into the habit of
incentive.
ignoring
That's a really good incentive.
But then they'll give you one and they don't check their email.
I think a lot of libraries are doing it, so I
That's
think the
not
things
our
we're
problem
thinking
at
of
that
maybe
point.
are
That's their
they
problem.
could.
So, If they don't check their email, that's not our problem.
Well, I think a lot of the libraries that are doing it contract with collection agencies.
I don't
And a lot of
know.
us don't. We just do our own
Right.
materials.
It'll be interesting to find out. The committee will do some work
But I
on
do
it.
have a lot of patrons that are 2 or 3 days late, and it's nice not to say, oh, well, it was renewed. I'm a fan of the auto renewal. It's like libraries.
I'm not saying I don't like the idea. I'm just saying I'd like it to,
Make people give us their email.
yeah. I mean,
Like for me.
Well, maybe if they
I
don't
give
get their
you my
email, they don't
but I
qualify
check
for
it.
auto renewal.
I mean, I check the library.
know that
I
would be
assume
that
it's
specific.
I hate
system-wide.
email. It's like getting the mail. It's junk.
Actually, on that note, we've had a lot of requests for reminders, the courtesy
Yeah.
due date reminders as a text message.
I would love that, but if you have 30
Is that an
items
option?
checked
Text
out,
is
20
becoming
different
the-
That is an
items.
option.
Replacement
That's how I
for
get
email.
it. Yeah, that's how I get mine is
Yeah.
text.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to choose it in your account.
You have to choose it in your
Yes.
account settings, yes.
Do you
You
really can't get that?
I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
I do.
when I
You
signed have up to in put in your- 2013, it was an option. I could.
I
either
thought
get
that
a
was
text
only
message.
for holds. They send you a
No,
text.
No.
you have to set up the SMS stuff in their account when you're creating their account, and then they have to go choose things in their login on Evergreen.
Revelation?
On the
I
open.
want that so bad.
I love it. Text message.
I just do email because I
I mean,
hate
it's like
text messages.
your
For anything
your hair
other than
salon
stuff.
sends you a text message. Your appointment's tomorrow, or your dentist. I mean, it evergreen
So
sends you one
maybe
too.
that's a training component.
That
Maybe
might-
there's a lot of other people that don't know that that can happen. Maybe patrons don't know that that
Oh,
can
I'm
happen.
sure there's
Big
other people
fluorescent
that go.
sign that
Yeah.
says, be sure to set up text messages
I
in
kind of
your
ask
account.
them every
Just
single
need a
time
flyer,
I get a card
post
saying,
on the
hey,
door.
we have text and email, so, let's do that, because I do overdue notices and I hate the paper.
You know,
So I'm like, you have to sign up with email or text.
Will it text overdue too?
Yep.
and then it,
It'll do
I think it's
everything.
also
All
a,
my
You gotta turn
people,
it on.
they're all, instead of this week, $25 Amazon gift card if you set it up.
I think it's also a frontline person training for the people at the front line that are working at Circ Desk every time, like pick a day of the week. Did you know you could have this service as a text message?
Well, and even if they don't have phone service, they have Wi-Fi service, and that's how they're getting.
Just
their
ask
text
every
messages.
patron every Tuesday, and then you get, or and change it every week or
Texting
something.
Tuesday.
I think this is an idea I think. We don't have any staff trainings. I do small staff training at my staff meetings, but we don't have a big whole day staff training. I think it would be awesome to have the SAGE offer 2 regional staff customer service trainings. One, the north end up here, one down south towards us closer. Full day that my staff could go to and be trained in several things about SAGE.
Okay. What about the rest of you guys?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I know that, this is my opinion, is that you're coming to Umatilla County and doing trainings at their staff in service day. I don't know if that's true or not, but in my mind, they have a staff in service day, and I know it because I go to the Hermiston Library and see a sign, close for staff in service. I think, they're having staff in service day. I bet Beth is going there and teaching them something, and I get jealous and upset, and I feel like we're getting ripped off somehow as part of our SAGE membership, because we're not having you come teach us. And it might not even be true, but that's how I feel. Or maybe Dia does, but
I'm just a part of their day. I'm not the whole day.
but I think my staff needs it, I think other staff needs
My
it.
staff needs it.
Okay.
And we
Do you
could have
think-
somebody from the state library come too, it wouldn't have to be SAGE all day.
Yeah.
But we need to coordinate something
Is 2
somehow.
regional trainings, I mean, is that enough
Well, I don't know.
to cover the
There's
physical
Klamath Falls and
area?
Lake County down there.
I'm
And then
thinking we need
Mitch, we have
3 or
Wheeler County
4.
and
Should go in anything.
Hardin County.
So.
I guess I hesitate to have it for the areas that nobody ever participates. I wonder if they would go.
They have, back when we did regional cataloging trainings, we had folks show up.
It's good,
So we just need to revitalize that.
good.
Something else I was going to mention before we got on this tack, just this whole text message thing made me think, are we utilizing our catalog to its full potential? I mean, do we want to have a little section of that front page that gives a tip of the week, or
That'd be a good idea.
do you know how to do this, or do you see what I'm grasping
Yes,
for?
I like it.
Some kind of
Try.
engagement with the
Or want to
patron.
track your history.
What about on our Facebook page? It could also be put on our Facebook page a link, because all we're doing for Facebook now, or have been, but I haven't seen it lately, is the new books.
Yeah, I haven't done
And that hasn't happened for a while. So if you did that on the website, we could roll that over to Facebook every week.
Not a lot of patron followers of the site.
Well, maybe if we promote it once or twice for $10, we could get more patron followers, and it'd be a learning technique.
I think
Marketing.
if we're gonna do that, and we get the followers, we need to make it a little bit more vibrant.
Yeah,
We
I
need to
agree.
post more content. So we have to be ready to keep them engaged, I guess, if we're.
Because I try to encourage, we're asked by our little locally monthly newspaper, give us a list of your new titles.
Oh,
And
we
I-
did that one month and I haven't done it since.
And I
We
don't want to
brought
do
a lot
it
of
because I
people into
say,
our-
well, these are the new physical ones that we purchased, but you need to look at the whole Sage system when you're looking at new titles.
Maybe we need a marketing chair that would be in charge of
Ah, there you go, Perry.
doing that.
We have enough trouble getting chairs for the
We do.
committees.
But maybe this is somebody's passion they want to.
Maybe, and I think it could make a difference for us.
Well, you guys refreshed my memory because it just happened yesterday. The Lowell Public Library was irritated that we supposedly collected an overdue fine and it didn't get sent to them. But it was my understanding that's just lost material.
Yeah,
It is.
that's right.
Fines,
Just lost.
fines stay with the patron's home library, so maybe a reminder is needed. It's just lost fees that go to the owning library.
Okay.
Because we sent some to you. You sent us a letter. I sent the money, even though the patron never paid for it.
Right.
That's the only part that bugs me, is that if the patron loses a book, they never pay us, we're still out the full amount.
You are.
When I could buy a book from Ingram and replenish it, it seems like that should be an option, maybe, or say,
Well, typically it is.
It's you negotiating with
You
the-
negotiate with the library.
her letter was very formal, so I just sent her a check.
And so that has come up, and it can, that's sent to, that maybe on the circulation committee.
Okay.
Is if a book is lost when it's out interlibrary loan to another library, is there typically a conversation with the home library, like the owner of the book, to find out what their fees are and how they're, like if they have a processing fee or a restocking fee or something on top of the cost?
I've done that before, I've called the library. For instance, in Hood River, we had a patron, ILL of Berenstein Bears, that was really old, that was paperback. She lost it, she has two little big girls, and she was pregnant and lost the book on a trip somewhere. So I called, and said, do we have to pay $20? Can we pay a smaller fee? What's your reprocessing fee? And they were open to negotiation.
Okay, so
I've called Pendleton before, there's no negotiation whatsoever, irregardless of how old the book is.
But that's library to library, right?
Yeah.
But there should be some kind of a call to the owning library, so that there's some
I did call the owning
interaction.
library.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying that's the typical
The procedure.
process.
Yes.
Is that my patron lost a book when it was interlibrary loan from Baker.
Right.
So I'm going to call Baker and
Right.
say, what's your cost, full cost?
I have,
of
yeah,
replacing
and
this? Okay.
the Dallas has been very open negotiation on that too, and I'm always open to negotiation.
So I've got a couple libraries in Umatilla County who both said, like, in the last couple of weeks, that didn't happen. And so
Well,
if
I think
that
it
can just
depends
maybe go.
what library you're talking to. I know when I've called Pendleton, there's no negotiation at all. And, but,
Kathy, what the issue is the library that the patron lost the record or lost the book from is not contacting to see if there's a processing fee or anything. They just
what I'm
send a payment.
doing that.
And I'm not talking like,
And
I'm saying that has happened to two different libraries in our district just recently, that they never were contacted to say, what, do you have a processing fee or what's the full cost?
They were
of it?
just sent
They just were sent a
cost of,
check.
for the
For the
cost
cost
of the book.
but
Oh,
not.
so they just took it upon themselves. They didn't get a letter like we did from LeGrand and say, this is the amount we want for this lost book.
Right.
Sorry, I totally
Yeah.
not
I
tracking
know, I
what
was
you were
like,
saying.
okay.
I was like, she keeps saying the same thing over
differently.
and over, and I'm like, yeah, I did.
No, yeah, not you.
Um,
I'm just saying that has happened to two different libraries that have
Yeah.
told me about it, and I just wondered what the process
I do
was.
think there is a policy somewhere in the depths of the state website that says that the library, the patron's home library is responsible for the cost.
There is.
The replacement cost. So I think that's probably what people are going from and not thinking about, processing fees.
Yeah.
But the system will add a process.
The web client is not doing it.
The web client's not having the processing fee? Okay.
Because it's that standardized $5 across the district, the
Yes,
entire
it's not
consortium.
adding it. I noticed that the other day when I sent out some bills.
Are there any libraries that want more than
It isn't a standard, it's up to $10.
Yeah, ours is free.
It's in the policy.
But even though we found a book, like the patron found it 3 years later, and I said, I'm gonna send you this. Nope, we just want the cash.
That's what we do too.
We only
Patron did not understand it.
basically promise that we're going to refund for our return for lost item within 6 months. After that, it's discretionary. If we replaced it, then no.
Yeah.
That's your book.
I could see that.
And whether we've replaced it or not in the grant, we cannot refund you once the money comes in because it goes to the city general
Yeah.
fund and it is lost to
And
us.
that's what big part of it is, cities
So-
versus special districts.
Thank
It makes a big
You don't have
difference.
accountability.
Yeah, and we only hold the option to, like if you lose a disc, we hold on to things like that for a while, but only for a year. And then after that, even if you find the disc, and actually it's not even a year, it's when the shelf fills up, which, usually takes about a year worth of acquisition.
I actually let my patrons for the kids' stuff replace it.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
like a
I do
copy
that.
from
But-
Amazon, because if they give us money, it goes to the general fund, and I don't have it in my budget to replace it.
Yeah,
Just give me the book. There's one.
Yeah.
But
that's why I do
generally
all my
speaking,
stuff too.
That's just-
we hold things that parts are missing for a year, and then after that, you're on the hook for it no matter what. And once you pay for something, that's it. It's paid for. It's yours to keep. So we'll take it back if you want to donate it back, but we're not going to refund you.
Right.
So
We
that,
could
I
use
just
it.
looked at my account settings and it doesn't have where I can get text notifications.
Got water damage.
For everything. It only had for homes.
It only had it for homes.
Give us a new book and they can keep
So how are you getting it?
Made everybody happy.
So did we make a decision on? Sorry, I've been wanting that for years. I went on in.
That may be a setup on the card.
It could.
I'll
There are
take a look.
several checkboxes for the SMS stuff on the card setup.
Okay.
The account settings.
Yes, no,
But we don't
Did
have
we
that
make a
on.
decision on how to handle if my patron is borrowing your book and it comes back damaged, how we're going to handle that? Are we, each library's doing it their own unique way? Are we
That's in the,
deciding that we're going to, if I
Isn't that in the
I
thing
don't
too?
That's
call
in-
that library and say, do you want us to call or do you want us to just put a note on it?
that's in the Sage policies. When you send it out, if it gets to them damaged, that's not their problem. When it comes back to you, then it is their problem.
Okay.
So it's
Whoever
dividing the
initiates the
responsibility.
first, the
Yeah.
mailing, before it gets to its, at that point in time, destination is responsible for it.
Yeah, once it arrives at the destination,
Then it becomes theirs.
then it becomes their responsibility.
What if it's damaged in transit?
Depends on who shipped it. If you
I
ship
just
it
think
to
most
them,
of the damage is sent back to us.
if you send an ILL out and it's damaged in process, it's either your fault or the courier's because of packaging and handling. Once it gets to them, then it becomes their responsibility until it gets back to you.
Have you
Comes
ever,
back to me in Boardman, I ship it to Perry and Baker, in between it's damaged.
have you ever tried to get a claim processed with the courier?
Never. I didn't know that was an
And I
option.
don't even know if that's possible,
I
but
tried once. Didn't go well.
I never even considered that.
So,
Well, I think
There,
it would
there
be
is a form
packaging
you can
issue.
fill out, but it is pretty difficult to prove that the damage occurred by negligence by them.
But I have had quite a few items returned that were damaged, and they were clearly damaged when it was checked in by that library.
and then that's that library's responsibility.
I figured that they would at least say, hey, you just return this like this and put a note, but when pages are all glued together and
mhm.
then I feel like it could take us a week or a week and a half to get it back, and then the patron thinks they're scot-free, and then I have to call them, a week and a half later saying, hey, your items were returned, and they'll say, I didn't do that, and my library didn't say anything. So, and
Were you done?
yeah.
So I just came up with just a simple little form that I stick in books, and I, write the owning library name on it and whether or not it was received when I unpacked it, whether it was damaged, or if it's returned with the patron damage, and then whether or not the owning library wants to bill the patron and give them the prerogative to put a bill on the patron.
So the form's not in it until it goes back to the owning library.
Right, it's just something I do.
And if we get a book from another library that's already damaged, I write it on that little sticker. And
Oh,
I highlight it. So but because patrons waited for the book, like if you want the book, it's damaged, I notated it, do you still want it? And they're like, yeah. So.
So from this, I'm gleaning that if, as items come in, 'cause we have a experienced works person doing our receiving of our ILLs, of our courier items. And so that would be where I need to train her to be looking at those items and making those
Yes,
notations.
definitely, yeah.
Because the outgoing ILLs are staff. And that's when last week before, because that was only a 2-day week this week for me. So it was last week an item came in and it definitely, there was no notation that it had previous water damage and it was truly water damage throughout the entire top quarter of the book. And I'm going, do we just put a note saying?
Yeah, you want to notate any damage when it comes in because you want to protect your patron too from getting billed for something.
And we have called libraries in the past if something comes in really bad shape and said, are you sure you want to circulate this?
Well, I think different libraries have, different standards of what's circulatable too.
Yes.
So that could be
Yeah.
a potential issue.
Yes.
Something comes in, it looks really terrible to us, but there's no note on it.
Like when we did the water damage training 10 years ago, and they pulled a dozen books from the large print collection and soaked them in water for days, and then did a water damage recovery training, and then some of the librarians who came to the training wanted the books to add to their collection.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's when you do it.
Why large
Say
print are the
desperate.
most expensive copies?
They were really old.
They're going to be weeded anyway.
Joe didn't weed the collection very often, and there was stuff in there that was
Large print.
70 years old,
They're really old sometimes. Because they're like, that's our large print we have today.
I was
Speaking
some
of
that, like, really
that
boring.
condition issue, there's that field item attribute of copy quality,
The good and bad stuff.
We started to try to use that, but the whole
Don't.
system would not target anything but the good quality
Yeah.
stuff.
It figures if it's not good quality, you don't want it to go anywhere. Or I don't know. It's just the way the software works. It's almost like as if you're buying it online.
So that's still a bug?
It's still that way.
Just because I'm curious, is there any sort of a functionality, even if it's buried in the background right now, for patrons to review items? Loved this book, highly recommended.
Do you guys
Like
want
Amazon,
to turn that stuff
that'd be
on?
awesome.
Is that a function?
That'd be
I
awesome.
like it. I missed the first part of that.
I was wondering if there was a function
'Cause when I
that
buy
wasn't
my
turned
books
on for
online, I
patrons
look
to
through the
review
reviews.
books. It sounds like there might be.
To review.
I thought
Love
that
this
there
book.
had
Think it
been
should be.
functionality added to the system to enable that, but I need to do some research. The other thing that we have not really pushed or configured is the search, rather than relevance, it goes by, what's the name? I need to bring the OPAC up. It's actually a feature, it's a selection you can make. You guys, somebody out there is going to find it before I do. Not me. I'm not looking.
I don't know. I just have people ask me about things like, recommend me a good Gothic romance novel. I don't read Gothic romance novels.
Well, it would be a
I can't
reader's
tell you
advisory
anything.
of the
Go to
SAGE
Goodreads.
system, sort of.
I don't know, I'm kind of wary about having our catalog.
But then do you have to monitor what they put?
Yeah.
Right.
Because I know we have
Cluttered
it
up
for.
with a bunch of.
We had it for
We
Beamstack,
have it for
Statements.
Beamstack.
but you have to approve each one manually.
Well,
You do?
In Beamstack, I think that was an option, that you would approve the reviews.
maybe if there's a possibility, just have it do a star rating with no text or something. That.
Yes.
I'd like to have that. The
That would be
district
good,
needs
like
to
a
look
Netflix
into that.
kind of thing.
But
Yeah.
even the bean stack for all of the items.
So.
Just have a link.
We're too small to.
Oh,
they're
it's a
missing.
popularity or,
Okay, sort by relevance or sort by popularity.
Oh, it has popularity adjusted by relevance.
And so that most popular, you can also do a popularity adjusted relevance where it takes both. The relevance is how many times that keyword is used within the MARC record. And then the most popular looks at things like how many holds have been placed on it, how many times has it been checked out. There's all of these metrics that you can configure popularity based on.
Or crawdads or translational almost.
So it might look at things like, okay, what's been recently added to the system, what's popular right now with people checking out. So anyway, that's a feature that has been added to the software, but we haven't really done anything with it yet. So that might be something we want to look at in the coming year of engaging some more.
So one thing I'd like to see developed is when we have to discard a copy, we can replace it with a new copy, that same title.
Yeah.
Love to be able to transfer the metrics from that old copy, checkout history, preserve that, and add it.
You can do that.
Can't you just do that by doing a new barcode? You replace the barcode.
Then it,
No?
it's problematic.
That's what I do.
Although if you were
Why?
changing to a different edition, like from a hardback to paperback, because that was what was available, you couldn't do
Well,
that.
You
Let's use
switch
that
it.
record.
You switch it to another record and replace barcode.
If it was a lost and billed item, and then it was checked in, even though it was a new barcode, it reverses the charge on the patron record.
Oh.
That's why we stopped
I see.
doing that.
You can always manually put the bill on the card.
Yeah, we have to add the
And
There's
So you would like that as an option?
Yeah, we tried that, but it created billing problems.
I never thought of that. Lost and. Sometimes things we never think about.
So we solved the billing problem.
Beth is still thinking about it. Yeah, I guess part of me is thinking that it muddies the water because you're transferring statistics from an older copy to a newer copy that really hasn't gone out that many times.
Yeah.
Here's my
And it
question
just-
then.
Maybe there's another solution.
Can-
we really want the aggregate title circulation data.
Well, what I'm curious about is can the popularity statistics be drawn from the volume rather than the copy? Because you don't necessarily care that copy one of your
Yes.
5 copies of
Yes, you
Singing
can-
Crawdads or whatever the
You can
heck
pull
that
it
book
from
is.
title, title level checkouts, or I can look at all the different categories again.
Because you can pull it
but
from the
there's-
volumes that are unique to each library, then it wouldn't matter if you lost a copy and replaced it.
Oh, yeah, he's talking about just checkout statistics, right?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will look into the popularity and see if we can configure that some more. There was some default configuration just put in when we did the upgrade, but we can fine tune it if we want to. And also we can decide whether we want that to be our default search sort order or a combination of popularity, because right now it automatically does relevance sort. But if we wanted to bring in popularity in combination with that, we would see a different shifting of our search results. Okay, we got 25 minutes left. We need some more ideas.
I ran across something the last couple of weeks, and when I've been looking at the not found holes from the pull list, and as I keyed the item in, it shows that it's reshelving, but the last time it was checked in was 3, 4, 5 months ago, and it's still showing reshelving. I screen printed the 2 items that have come across my desk the last 2 weeks.
Did you try checking them in again to see if that reshelving would disappear in 24 hours?
Well, we didn't have the item in our hand because we couldn't find it on the shelf. So I go through, if it's been on the holds list they've searched for it for 2 days, then I go in and look for it and see, because some of them are from 1997, have never been used. And I'm moving those over to missing and then creating a missing bucket list.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing, but I didn't know what to do with this in reshelving.
Yeah.
It's been 3 months.
I've had a couple other reports of that, and I don't know, I don't think it's a consistent issue, so I'm trying to get some more information about. There was some speculation, kind of like the fines got stuck there, that maybe reshelving was another function that didn't happen on items when it should have. So my thought is that maybe it's working now, but there was a time period when reshelving was not going back to available within 24 hours.
Would you like me to forward those 2 screenshots to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you show, we don't have a link to the help reports from the main splash page on the client anymore, right? I think that's the update.
No, the splash page for both the web client and the desktop client need to be, all those links need to be reestablished on those pages. It's on my to-do list. Unfortunately, the menus are in 2 different locations.
Can you just show where to find that link on the, I guess, Sage website?
Oh, for the help ticket?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to need to log out of...
I don't think we ever changed our website password. We talked about doing that.
We did talk about doing that, so maybe make a note of that. So the Sage Lib website password, it's been more than a year.
I held up 5 fingers.
I was going to say the whole time I worked there.
5 years.
Erin is listening to us on the phone, and she said, everybody's talking at once and she can't hear anything, so try to not overlap each other.
Okay. Thanks, Erin.
That takes all the fun out of it, though. That's why we came to sit around the table.
Good incentive for attending meetings.
She had to go to Portland.
You can fly back and forth. I do it all the time. You know, a plane the size of a matchstick, and it goes.
Erin, I can't stand those little planes. I have to drive.
She couldn't stand us talking about her.
Okay. So once you log into the Sage Lib website, the Submit Help Desk ticket is over here on the right-hand side. There we go. You can also get to it
Can't you get to it from the catalog?
Yeah. Okay, catalog. Oh, Sam already logged in. But a patron can also submit a ticket as well. I get tickets from patrons too. Sometimes it's things like, I returned these items.
I've gotten those emails.
And I just forwarded them to the home library saying, okay, here you go. And sometimes if they need help, logging in, or they're having a problem with their password, or there's a variety of problems. Sometimes they're looking for a certain resource and need help finding it. I don't get a ton per week. And if I can figure out whose patron it is, and it seems library focused, I will forward those on to the home library of the patron. Yeah.
How do you figure out what library?
Well, in the form, they enter their barcode and their name. Now, sometimes they don't enter their barcode, and I have to kind of, if their name's complete enough or they have an email address, I can usually do a lookup on the system and figure out whose patron they are.
At our library, we're looking into doing a reader's advisory request form. Is that something that anybody would be interested to have on the Sage site? So it's like a one-page questionnaire that the patron fills out. It goes, we're just going to do it within our library system. So it goes to our email, then a staff person takes it, researches what kind of books they want, makes a list of 4 to 5 titles for them, and emails it back to them. And I was thinking maybe that could be an option. Is that an option on Sage ever? That we could put a form on, and then it would have their email? They'd say what library system they belong to, and it would go to them? That might be too in-depth for Sage.
We can add all sorts of forms.
Your eyes are
well, I was trying to think, okay, so we'll get all these forms in, and then I have to figure out which library they go to. It's certainly possible. I think we'd have to decide how, what level of service we want to provide and how customized we wanted it to be.
I wasn't sure if that was something that everybody wanted to look into.
I don't want it. I don't have enough staff.
I've seen, I think it's a third party, might be the Biblio Commons, where people can sign up for different categories.
Yeah.
And then they get notifications of new items that have been added in those categories.
That'd be interesting on Sage.
I don't know if that's something.
Could you say, I love James Patterson, and every time a new one came into Sage, you'd get an email every day?
I don't think it was
every hour?
Yeah. Thrillers, and you'd get 90%.
That used to be a feature when we had Millennium. I don't know that it's an evergreen feature, but one of the things that I had thought about doing, and I haven't gotten around to it, was I was going to add a menu option to the OPAC that would have all of these different genre lists. So it would give a list of all the horror movies or all of the, I don't know.
Oh, sort of like Overdrive does. You can search by genre.
Yeah. And it would produce an alphabetic list by genre in different categories, books or DVDs.
Maybe developers should start looking at that, because the suggested you might be interested in is becoming a very common service expectation.
Yeah.
The Beanstack app we use for summer reading does that too.
It does. They're great. Oh, quit whining.
I don't like it because I don't like them to think they know me.
I like it. I want to be more hidden than that.
Are you using Novelist?
Yes.
And do you work with your customers to have set up their own alerts within, because you can set up your own account within Novelist and have it alert you?
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Oh. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Well, and it's been years since I've used it, but that was something that I did just a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah, you can set up your own, kind of like having your own user account in that database, and then you can set up alerts and say, I like to read this, and you can do searches and then have the search.
So does Goodreads have something similar?
I think so.
Because we were going to add the Goodreads link to the OPAC, kind of like with fantastic fiction.
I use Goodreads. So
It's becoming more popular than and more robust. So we were going to listed as an alternative to fantastic fiction. I'm just wondering if Goodreads has a, where you can create an account and then maybe get notifications through there.
I don't know.
We feel like the series narration is better on Goodreads than Fantastic Fiction.
Yes, I like the
I
series
agree.
better on Goodreads.
Maybe we need to do a survey so that we can override those few but vocal fantastic fiction fanatics that insist on it being an authority,
Certainly.
the sole authority.
Well, and I think at the time when we decided on fantastic fiction, I don't know that Goodreads was as far along as it is now.
Probably.
So I'm thinking that the momentum may have shifted and we just have to reevaluate.
I use it for
So it does have a recommendation tab.
Okay. I thought that I had remembered that on there.
And it goes by what you've have checked. And it's also linked to Amazon. If you want it to be.
I think there were like 3 or 4 kind of similar Goodreads. Maybe I can't remember the name of the other.
I use Library Thing.
Library Thing used to be one.
But Goodreads has emerged to be the.
So if,
I like Library Thing still because it has a lot of librarian-specific resources.
when you search for
Do it as
books
small
on
resource.
Google, does our Sage Library catalog pop up and say it's available there?
Oh, that would be good.
It does that for some libraries.
OCLC had that connectivity at one point.
Remember we talked about it several years ago, but now I can't remember the details.
I do not know the answer to that. I was trying to think back to whether I'd seen any Google results that showed our catalog.
Oh, here it is. Available near you, Oregon Digital Library Consortium. Yakima,
Most of our
North
libraries do
Central.
not put our holdings up on OCLC. So if they were looking for a connection through,
There is a Chrome extension that will search the catalog as a little portal. It adds to your page. It shows whether, say you look something up on Amazon or something, whether it's copies in your library.
it's an extension.
I can't remember the name of it though.
One of the things that can drag down system performance is these system robots that go through websites and capture data can end up dragging down your performance because they're trying to get a bunch of information from your website.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes you, within the network settings, system configuration, you block those robot type devices from sifting your website because you don't want to.
Otherwise, you end up in a situation where it's almost like an attack.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I guess I was looking at that as, do we want to increase our visibility, but at the cost of dragging down our system performance? I don't think I want to.
Yeah.
Well, we've gotten some good ideas.
Well, we do have a question.
Yeah.
This is just kind of a newbie question. What is, how often do you relook at the agreement, like the original agreement? I think, isn't it like a 2010 date on the one that's ahead now?
It is, I think.
And I just wondered, is that what's that?
Every 10 years should be.
Okay.
You should mention that.
I don't know.
That's your, are you heading that committee?
We reviewed it and had to make changes when we changed from EOU as the fiscal agent to Baker being the fiscal agent. We did discuss the possibility of reviewing the MOU on an annual basis, and that just hasn't happened. I think we need to look at, we are also needing to redo our strategic plan, because the strategic plan that was written for Sage is, its time period has lapsed. And that was something the Strategic Planning Committee was working on. So it might be something that we review the MOU each time we do a new strategic plan, which would put it at, every 3 to 5 years, depending on how long our strategic plan is focused. But it is good. It is something good to, I think, just make sure that it meets our needs and is still relevant.
Yeah. I think when I first was kind of looking around at things, I went, "Oh, is that current?" Or I wasn't sure if it was current because of the old.
Well, 2010, that was when we migrated to Evergreen. I think we have a later MOU than that, because we certainly made the fiscal agent change later.
Okay.
So you probably were looking at an older copy?
Okay.
Which means I might need to make sure that the web is updated.
Okay. And who's on the strategic plan?
That's a good question. I am. Harry is. Dia, were you on the committee with us?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I might have been. It's been a long time since we had a meeting.
It has. I'd have to look at my old notes. It wasn't a very big group. And we put together a draft strategic plan, but it was just the beginnings of one.
I think Marcia was when she was at the district.
In my MLIS course. So we were, it's a practical example. It was for Sage, so it just was kind of like, okay.
Might as well do something that's relevant.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, if you invigorate.
Erin, invigorate?
I could be on that if you'd like.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
Good job.
Well, it sounds like we're running out
Do
of
we need to
things.
elect officers soon?
Next meeting.
I'll send out a thing on the listserv to tell people to volunteer.
Okay.
So that I don't have to re-volunteer.
Sounds good.
Do we have positions that need to be filled?
Yeah.
As in, these are council members?
Yeah, there are people that go off the council every year.
Well, no, we extended the terms, remember?
Yeah.
Yes, but we should be having a third of them should be going off this year.
I think it is a third, yes.
Ryan's gonna send it out to us, he said.
Yeah, once we figure out what we need to do.
So on the, well, I can bring it up. On the council page, it lists the term. I forgot. Doing things from memory, and I forgot part of the link. Okay. So Cecily, you're going off. Erin is going off. Mary.
See, our page needs to be updated.
And Rich.
Can you go to the page of participating libraries and their directors, so we can look at that real quick too while we're on here?
That would be under
Members.
So what do you want to look at?
Look at ours, Gillum County.
Yeah.
I think it was something was on with that.
I think I need to update Haynes.
I think a lot of them are updated.
Yeah, our hours need updated.
You should do like state
Is your
library
website
and
really that long?
have everybody
Yeah, 'cause
check
it's
out
the
their
county's
information.
website.
What's that?
You should do like the state library does and periodically, maybe
Should go to-
annually, they have everybody look at the database listing for their own library and notify
Because they-
changes.
All right, so they didn't want to pay.
So member info needs to be updated.
Yeah.
You would pay for it. You do get one of those.
We've changed the Haynes Saturday hours. We need to update.
Like Google does that. Trying to
All right, thanks everybody for sticking it out
Can you
with
pull
us.
up Ukiah?
Be sure and email me any questions that you have. I'm going to stop the recording if I can get this.
Carrie just wanted me to remind anybody who's physically here, if you need any Imagination Library or ready to learn materials, to see her at the front desk. She will send you.
You share your imagination library stuff with other people? Is that what you're saying?
Right, extra brochures.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have your library on it?
Okay, I'm gonna go get some.
I don't think so.
It just creates a shorter version of it. It'll be like geo.gl slash a random 5 to 10
It
digits.
says $10 for what?
Up to $10 for processing fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ours is $5.
Ours is $3.